this is Dave.
This is Tara.
And this is Adam, and you're listening to People Also Watched.
We're three industry insiders clinging onto the lower rungs of the Hollywood ladder, and we love examining movies.
Every month, studios release big-budget features, and for every one of those, there are a ton of lesser-known movies you just might love.
So as we cling here to the bottom of this career ladder, we're going to watch big-budget movies, but we're also going to introduce you to an older, nearly forgotten movie that people also watched.
So like and subscribe to us wherever you listen. To podcasts.
And why don't you follow us on social media where China hasn't taken away your privacy? It's on Twitter and Instagram at People Also Watch. No ED, everybody. Just People Also Watch.
Okay, listen, Adam, I'm
I
proud
love
of
the
you
idea
for not exploring the ED. That was excellent work. That was excellent work. All right, everybody.
I try not to explore my ED.
Get your D20 die, get your character sheet, and level up to the big budget version of a Hollywood movie. It's the role-playing game cast on the silver screen, Dungeons & Dragons, Honor Among Thieves.
Still in theaters, D&D Honor Among Thieves stars Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Regine Page, Justice Smith, Sophia Lillis, and Hugh Grant. It's still in theaters and has so far earned $90 million worldwide. So, Dave, what is your log line for this movie? I'll give you a +2 to log lining.
Hold on, let me roll my die. 3. Oh no, this is going to be bad.
Not going to go well for Dave.
Okay, so how do you take a whole bunch of IP that has no real story elements to it because everyone makes up their own stories with it and make a movie? Let's cast Chris Pine and find out. How's that for a log line?
That's pretty solid.
I think that's a 5.
Yes, maybe a 5.
Okay, I need to ask because I'm a person who's never played D&D, and I'm assuming you both have.
Oh, I play.
Yes.
Yeah, I play weekly on a Twitch stream. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you do. And Dave, do you play regularly?
No, I'm like the ED of Dungeons and Dragons. If I have my medication, I do.
Okay.
I can get it up for D&D, but otherwise...
Sure.
No, I have played.
Sorry,
Okay.
Go ahead, Tara.
No, my question is like, first, okay, when this movie opens and we're in medieval times and there's dragons, and I'm just thinking like, God, we just got done with Game of Thrones. I feel like there's so much of this like romancing of this middle evil sort of like time, and like everybody smelled just because they had swords. But as this movie went on very quickly, it had me roped in. And is it because of Chris Pine? Very much so. But
Maybe.
nonetheless,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm with this story now, and it bothers me after it bothered me less after 10 minutes that I felt like we've already seen this world like 5 or 6 times recently.
Right. Well, what I will say about Dungeons and Dragons is, as a IP, they have taken character archetypes, right?
Okay.
And made it very easy for you to build off of those archetypes. Like, for instance, if you want to be someone who is a wizard who casts magical spells, you can come up with any sort of crazy backstory you want for that. What this movie did very smartly is said, we're not going to. We're literally going to be like, Michelle Rodriguez is a barbarian. Here she is being a barbarian. Here's Chris Pine. He's a charming bard. Here he is being that. Like, they were very simple with it. And in that simplicity, they were able to have so much fun with this movie. This movie was a good time, like from start to finish.
Yeah.
Because they didn't try and go into the crazy lore of Dungeons and Dragons. Was there some Easter eggs in there for the nerds and the super fans? Sure there were. But I was sitting next to Mandy on one side, my friend Carrie on the other side, both of which have played D&D but aren't super familiar with the lore, and they both had a great time. I think it's a fun movie.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think it's really interesting when I first when I first saw the trailer for it, I was kind of like, you know what? I'm a little bit done with these fantasy movies where
Yes.
everyone talks like they're in like 2022. But
Mhm.
then, and here what I think is the challenge with Dungeons and Dragons is it doesn't have a storyline. You know, there's no like, oh, everyone knows this guy who's a villain, or everyone knows this person who's a hero. It could be anyone at any time. And so how do you create something that feels like the game when there's not a lot of things except for like the gelatin cube and stuff to hang your hat on?
Well, what I will say about this, and this is because I'm a D&D nerd, the Red Wizards of Thay are like in the world because there are books written about Dungeons and Dragons, and there are one-shots and pre-made adventures you can go on. The Wizards of Thay, the Red Wizards of Thay, are a very popular villain. So, in theory, that already existed, just as,
Okay.
as a little thing.
Here's what I
Well,
would say.
what I think that what they
Go ahead, Dave.
I think one of the things they really accomplished with this movie was feeling like you were playing the game in the sense of like after about 15 minutes in, my critique of what I saw in the trailer, which is people talking like it's 2022, with their little quips and stuff, I realized like, oh no, that's how we play. Like we have little current reference kind of quips when we play the game. When people are trying to figure out how to like rescue someone, Michelle Rodriguez's character came up with the idea is like we could shoot an arrow into the thing and blah blah blah. And that's how you play the game. You like talk to each other and you're like, hey, what if we do this? Or no, what if we do that? And then also with character introduction, I feel like a big thing in D&D, in my limited exposure to it, is when you introduce your character, you're like, hi, my name is so-and-so, and this is what I do, and this is where I come from, and this is what I think. And I felt like the movie had that as well. So it had all these like hallmarks of playing the game integrated into the story.
And again, as a person who has no experience with Dungeons and Dragons other than you dorks surrounding me,
I'm going to get you to play.
I'm just
I'm going to
kidding.
get you to
But
play.
here's-
You're going to have a good time.
Here's why I think the
We
movie
should.
really works. It works. Doesn't matter if you know a thing about Dungeons and Dragons. Is because of this. Chris Pine's character, who is our leading character, has one simple, clear external goal the whole movie, and that is to save his daughter, to get his daughter back.
Yep.
And that is
Yes.
simple.
Yeah.
It is very understandable. And the reason he loses his daughter is through his own like hubris and wanting to do something, which I'm assuming is a game thing, which is like bring somebody back from the dead, right? But I think that's why you can go on this journey. And the same thing with Michelle Rodriguez. Like we know a little bit about how like her husband has written her a letter that says he doesn't want to be married to her anymore. And she's essentially upturned her whole life for this man. So you're like, yeah, I kind of want to know, like when I kind of want her to have that moment of either confrontation or whatever it's going to be. I feel like every character in this movie, like and the sorcerer guy, he just wants to be a good sorcerer, right? Except he's in his own, and it's like there's so many simple one sentence goals, and I think when you give characters simple goals and you give them their complex characters, I don't care. It didn't matter to me that I didn't know the lore or what these characters, like if this was a like a trope or if this was a whatever, because then you add things that were like hilarious, which is the bringing the like dead people back for 5 questions, because I was like, well, that's a fun game, right? Because obviously you're gonna F with the corpses. Right? Like stuff like that. I was like, well, that's clearly the part of the game, but it works very filmically because it's funny, right? And because it also furthers their goal, which is to then get this helm to go save the girl, right? So I think that's why, to me, you get and as a 4 Weddings and a Funeral fan from the get, to give us Hugh Grant back in a different form, but the form that we need an older Hugh Grant to be, which is the charmingest piece of crap villain, and I want him to play that from now on.
Yes.
I loved a bumbling English villain. Oh,
Two words.
Give it to me.
Paddington 2. Paddington 2.
Yep.
Is he the bad guy in that too?
Oh, Tara.
Yes.
You haven't seen
Oh.
Paddington 2. We should
I
stop
understand
recording
this is
right
the thing.
now.
I haven't.
After watching the massive weight of unbearable talent, or the unbearable weight of massive talent, and you still haven't seen Paddington 2 after
I know.
Pedro
I get
Pascal and Nick. Oh,
Cage.
I was going to say
get
Nick Fury, but that's not his name.
Nick
Cage.
I get it.
No,
I'll watch this movie.
I think you're completely right, Tara. Like, it is. They do a great job of keeping the goals simple. These complex characters, sure, and there are these aspects of the world where that they very easily and quickly explain. You know, they don't go into extreme detail with any of it, and they don't have to. And they also aren't afraid to poke fun at themselves, like when they had that obese dragon chasing around the.
Oh my god, that was so funny!
It was hilarious. It's just like this. Like the dragon is so fat that it can barely move, let alone fly. And there's a scene where it's like sliding down a pile of gold. Just oh my god! And then they had what's his name from his name is in the Ray Jean Page, right? Is that how you say his name?
Ray Jean Page, which Bridgerton from Bridgerton.
Yeah, Bridgerton. Thank you.
Oh.
He was fantastic, and
yes.
he was completely straight, playing it completely straight. And if you have ever played D&D and know what a paladin is, that's exactly what a paladin is. They're like these really like straight-laced, boring kind of. You can play it a number of ways, but the way he played it was just so close to the trope that if you've played D&D, it's hilarious. If you haven't played D&D because he's such a funny actor, it's hilarious. Doesn't matter.
I also think you get away with it.
And the other characters' reactions help you.
I was going to say, because the other characters are very grounded. Like Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, and like they're people, we see that they're people with foibles. So when you get Regé Jean Page, who's like, hello, I'm here to save you, you could be like, okay. And then he gets away with anything because we know that like he is this legendary 500-year-old, however old he is, thing. And you're like, yeah, he could do anything. And then when Chris Pine makes fun of him and like he doesn't understand sarcasm, brilliant take.
Yeah. Can I also say how nice it was to see Michelle Rodriguez in this? Like, she was great in this, and I haven't seen her do something in a while where she was this good. And I think it's because she got to play who she is, which is just like a very like tough, straight speaking, like no nonsense person, which is what makes her barbarian so fun. You know, because like she has no tact. You know what I mean? There's no planning. That she's just like this thing, and she had some great buttons to Chris Pine's lines. Fantastic.
And their chemistry was really good because they were like really close friends. There was nothing romantic between them, but they seemed like they are journeying through life together in a way.
And I also want to thank you for saying that, Dave, because I was going to bring that up as to me. Just like RRR, we talked about, like you can have a man and a woman be friends, have them both be straight, and not fall in love. Like you can have a friendship with a person of the opposite gender and not have it be like, I must have sex with this person. And I just think like they nodded to it when somebody was like, is that your wife? And Chris Pine was like, ew. And she's like, what do you mean, ew? Like, you know, like, but it's like, because you buy it. You're like, no, these people, they're raising a child together because they know that child is important.
Well, plus, I mean, how could Michelle Rodriguez be with Chris Pine when she's got Bradley Cooper at home? I mean, that's just...
I mean, even a miniature version of Bradley Cooper.
I couldn't...
That was Bradley Cooper? Oh my God, I've been meaning to look up who played Marlon. Because I was like, this guy looks familiar. Well, he was so tiny.
I didn't recognize him. I didn't recognize him right away either, Dave. It took me a couple of shots. I was like, oh my God, that's Bradley Cooper. And you know what I hope? I hope Bradley Cooper is like an avid D&D player. And he's just like, can I just be in the movie, guys? Just let me be in the movie. I don't care what it is. I'll be any role. Like Steve Colbert was in Lord of the Rings for the same reason. He just like wanted to be in the movie.
The other thing I thought, there weren't a lot of Easter eggs that I saw. But there was one that I saw that I was like, Oh, I think that's an Easter egg, is when they're in the maze and trying to get to the final cage, there's like this big arena event where like uh all like 20 teams of 5 all are trying to get to the center of the maze, and each time it'll eliminate more and more teams. They're heading towards the cage and they're almost there, and there's a group in the cage already, and they're like, you know what, let's not do this. The group in the cage is the 1982 D&D cartoon group.
Yeah.
It's like
Is it?
the yeah, it is. And it was just so funny because like just as they cut away from it, I was like, oh, I saw the green of the wizard's robe. Was that the D&D from 1982? And sure enough, it was. And I was very proud of myself, and I got myself more popcorn.
Good for you, Dave. Good for you, buddy.
Thank you.
I feel like this is a great time to get our own popcorn. A little popcorn break.
Little popcorn.
Yes, let's do a popcorn break.
Welcome to Batshit, a frank and funny look at living with mental illness. Imagine being on coke and Molly for a week straight, complete with the crash
Right, yeah.
that would come at the end of it. And that's pretty much what it's like.
Yeah. While we'll touch on several illnesses, Batshit is focused on those along the spectrum of bipolar disorders.
I think I'm a good dad.
Yeah. I mean, he only has 2 kids left. He had 8 at the start,
Yeah,
but these last 2 kids.
These two, though, are good.
Yeah.
They're doing good. I feel bad for the other 6, but,
They'll find their way home, or they won't.
Yeah.
I'm your host, Adam,
And I'm your other host, Brad.
and we're both bipolar. I got a hangover. And I'm like, yeah, I drank last night. And
I'm fantasizing about what music to play at my funeral.
Exactly.
Here's my funeral playlist.
Exactly. So strap in, and let's see how batshit we really are.
Is when you go manic, it's like someone opened up your head and they dumped a bowl of minnows in. And so those
like
minnows
that.
are just swimming around and like bouncing off the walls and going into each other, and there's 30 of them.
Yeah.
And those are your thoughts. Spoiler alert, pretty damn batshit.
Listen and subscribe to Batshit, available wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, everybody. Now here's a movie that people also watched. We're going to go from RPG to LARPing. Wait, what does that mean, Dave? RPG
Yeah,
to
LARPing is live action role play.
I know, but what is RPG?
Role playing game.
Okay, because I'm like, what is that? Okay, got it. Okay, I'll start.
But
all
I
of
think it's a
this
good. Yeah,
All
please.
this in.
It's educational.
I was like, I don't know what that means. Okay, got it. Now here's a movie that people also watched. We're going to go from RPG to LARPing with The Knights of Badassdom. This 2013 film stars Peter Dinklage, Steve Zahn, Summer Glau, Ryan Kwanten, and Danny Pudi, and was directed by Joe Lynch. The box office is around $124,000, but it is currently streaming for free on Amazon Prime.
Dave, you're doing so great rolling those D20s. Why don't you roll it again
Oh,
and see
yeah.
what kind of log line you can come up with?
Okay, I'm rolling a 1d6 because that's what I have in front of me, and I got a nat 6. So
Oh, nice. Okay, here we go.
You're just speaking a
Irregardless,
different
this-
language to me. I don't know what this means.
Oh yeah. What happens when a bunch of fantasy nerds are LARPing in the parking lot, but get attacked by a real live demon? We'll find out in Knights of Badassdom.
Yeah.
I love, Dave,
Sure.
that all of your log lines are questions.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You know what?
They're not
I write
statements.
log lines. I write log lines like a third grader writes a book report. What happens in the end? Will the big red dog survive? You'll have to read it to find out.
This movie is so chock full of talent. I was
Oh.
honestly surprised every time a new person was revealed, because there is so many people, even beyond the ones that we've mentioned, who are in this movie. And
Yes.
Yeah.
like
My first note
Go
is
ahead,
the
sorry,
cast is insane. This cast is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and
It's
I don't take this the wrong way. Based off the script, which was fine, I honestly think I get exactly what it is. I'm surprised they got this many stars to do this movie.
I
Well,
theorized
it's-
about this. I theorized
okay.
about this as well,
Ooh,
Adam.
I like a good theory.
I'm just going to say very quickly is like, okay, so what it is one of these people, either Dinklage or Steve Zahn or one of them is like a Ren Fair dork, right? They love doing
Okay.
this, and they're like, and because I would say, because I performed at Ren Fairs, I did Shakespeare at Ren Fairs. So again, I make fun of you guys for D&D. I performed at Ren Fairs, okay? So this is the version I am. I'm doing Shakespeare at Ren Fairs, okay? So we all have our
Well, at
costumes.
least you're
Worse
doing
than that, you
Shakespeare.
rehearsed. You rehearsed to go to a Ren Fair. You
Correct.
like pre-planned.
Yes. I had a month or so of rehearsals before. Yeah, absolutely. But the point is that I remember when we were doing this in the mid 2000s, the people we were doing this company was like, nobody's written a movie about, like, not just about Ren Fairs, but about the people that like are Ren Fair, like, for, like, they are diehards.
Sure,
The people that have
diehards.
those bumper stickers, whatever.
Yeah.
And we thought, we even were like, we gotta write a movie. And I think a couple of them did write a script and whatever. But I feel like that's exactly what we did, is what this group of people was like, I performed there or da-da-da, and no one's written a Ren Fair movie yet. So this was their attempt at like, okay, cool. So if we have a Ren Fair, and you get all these like dorks like pretending to do this, what would happen if like a real element of the things that they are like scared of happened?
I'm not saying the concept behind this movie is bad. I'm really not. I'm saying the script itself is not great. It's not great. It's just the dialogue, the general like I'm so confused about the geographical layout of this forest and this parking lot, because
Yep.
a lot of this movie is like, we have to get to place X, and then they are traveling for like 30
Yeah.
minutes, and then
Yeah.
they get to place X, and then place X happens to be right next to place Y, and I'm just like, where are we? How are we? What's going
Yeah.
on?
How big is this park you guys are playing in? Because
Yeah.
honestly, everything should be a 10-minute walk at
Yes.
most away from
Correct.
anything.
And go ahead, Dave.
I found it really insane because it was like this movie was amazing and all of a sudden terrible, and then amazing
Terrible.
and then terrible.
Terrible.
And there were things that to me it didn't feel fully cooked yet, in the sense of like maybe the script could have used one more pass, because
One is generous,
like,
Dave.
Yeah.
well, there was things that bothered me. Like, I didn't know what the lead character's feelings for LARPing was until he was in LARPing. Like, they drag him to LARPing, and I didn't realize he didn't like LARPing and was being dragged to it. I thought he was like, with these guys, did all the same things, and this is what they did.
Well,
And then
yeah, they set it up that the lead, gets broken up with by his girlfriend, who, by the way, had every right to break up with him. Every right to
Right?
break up with him.
Yeah.
It's like the fact that she was still with him was ridiculous. And he's best friends with Steve Zahn and Peter Dinklage, and they take him, like, they basically get him wasted, and he wakes up at the LARPing event. And yeah, it's not really clear, like you were saying, Dave, if he wanted to be there, if he didn't want to be there. Like, did he used to do this? Did he not used to do this? Because they act
Yes.
like he used to be into D&D and LARPing, but then he doesn't know any of the rules. He doesn't know any of the people. Like, it was just confusing.
I also feel like what we should mention is the reason I think that the cast, why we're talking about this being so surprising, is because this movie is so low budget. Like there's
Mhm.
like it's like these guys just set up a camera or got like two guys with cameras to like fall. Like, it is low budget, and because
Yeah.
the majority of this
Yeah.
movie takes place in a parking lot. I mean, with just like all you have to do is put up cars and people in like Ren Fair gear.
yeah,
Like
Yeah.
it's
you
so
need a
low
field.
budget. It's super low budget.
And if they had just reveled in that low budgetness, I would have been completely on board. But there were just these scenes that fucking ruined it for me, like super sexualizing Summer Glau in these weird,
Oh, you
Oh
mean
my God.
the bloody
Or-
lesbian makeout
or
scene?
bloody lesbian makeout scene, or like, I'm just like, completely unnecessary. It was worse than bad. It took me out of this kind of low budget fun I was having, because At the end, all of their budget was spent on the practical monster at the end, which I actually thought
Which
looked
looked-
pretty good.
I was like, that's
okay.
a rubber-looking monster.
Yeah, but I mean, considering the rest of the budget, I was like, that's not bad. That's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, like let me have fun with this terribleness. You know what I mean? Don't ruin it for me with that kind of crap.
I also hate to say, I thought Peter Dinklage was really bad in this movie. And I know that's terrible to say. I felt like he was playing at the idea of like a dorky LARPer. And I'm like, and he took me out of it.
Yeah.
It's like, I believed Steve Zahn. I believed the True Blood guy.
Yes.
Ryan Quanten. And I believed that they were sort of, no matter how terrible the script was, I sort of believed the world they were in. And he took me out of it a lot.
Oh yeah. But by the way, quick side note: there is a connection of a connection where I was hoping that we might be able to talk to someone from the cast about this movie, but supposedly no one from the cast talks about this movie because of the experience they had
Ooh.
making the movie. And yeah, so I guess it was like, it's taboo. Like, do not, like, if you ever run to Danny Pudi, don't be like, hey man, Knights of Badassdom, because he will straight up punch you in the throat. Like, I guess
that's so funny because you texted that to us, and I was maybe in the first 20 or 30 minutes of the movie when I read that text, and I was like, oh, this must have just like turned into shit. I didn't feel it once. I didn't feel like anyone was having a terrible time. I felt like it was a bad movie, but it didn't feel like a movie where everyone there did not want to be there.
Right.
Agreed.
I agree with you. Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is like is credit to them for that.
Sure.
Yeah. I
But
think
there-
I was hoping for a lot from this movie. I mean, I think when you're like, oh, they have a
I
good
was hoping
cast,
for more.
it's low budget, it's, I know the world of this LARPing and this Ren Fair stuff, and like, there's so many tropes you can play with. But what it was really just like, what?
Yeah, I felt like they
Yeah.
skipped a bunch of steps. Like, for instance, they suggest at the top of the movie that the lead is in a death metal band, right? Which is very akin, like that's LARPing. LARPing in D&D, there's a lot of metalheads.
Yeah.
But like that's about the gist of it until at the very end of the movie, he performs a concert to defeat the demon. Which, if we had given even like one or two more instances of that throughout the movie, I would have been absolutely fine with.
Yes.
But they just didn't bother to do it. The same
Well-
goes for what's it called? The the book. Like the book is supposed to be this like mythical thing that can't be destroyed, and then it gets destroyed.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, well,
By
wait a
far.
minute. I thought it couldn't be destroyed. Like, and now it's
Yeah.
destroyed. It just felt lazy, like writing wise. It was like, oh no, we need him to I don't know. We'll make we want him to sing an original song, so he can't be singing from the book because the book is a spell. So we'll destroy the book and he can sing a song. I'm like, what the? Why
Yeah.
did you just bail on that? I don't know.
It goes back to like I really feel like they didn't set anything up with the characters or the action that follows, and they didn't stick to their own rules that they made. So
Right.
you just feel a little lost and this is a harsh way of phrasing it, but betrayed by it because you're like, that's not what you said it was. Okay, it's different now. Whatever.
Yep.
It's sort of like, as we're reflecting on it, it sort of feels like they started producing this movie only when they had the first like 15 to 20 pages written, and then they were like,
Yes.
oh, we better finish this movie. And that's what it feels like, because it really did have like the start was like, I was, oh, okay,
Yeah.
until the point when Ryan Quanten is in the back of the car and they're at the LARPing event, which I was fine with. I was like, okay, he got drunk
Yeah,
and he
fine.
doesn't want to LARP. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, fine. But like, and then obviously they're going to resurrect a demon. Fine. But after that, it's like all bets are off and now there's no rules and we could destroy a book that can't be destroyed. Like, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the thematics of his girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend, is somehow is the demon. Like, the demon takes the shape of his ex-girlfriend, and I kind of blew over on how that happens. I missed it. I'm sure
Me
it's
too.
something about somehow it was plucked from his mind,
He
a la
was- he
the
had
Stay
a-
Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters.
He had
Right.
a picture of her on him when Steve Zahn cast the original spell, and so that's
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, but they never once played with the idea of his ex-girlfriend feeling demonic to him, or his ex-girlfriend being so terrible that she is death incarnate now. You know, it was just happenstance. It could have been
Yeah.
anything. It could have been a picture of Oreos, and a bunch of Oreos could have attacked the LARPers. Which, now that I think about it, I want to
Pretty
make
funny.
into a movie.
Yeah,
That's
it's a good
also
movie.
pretty funny.
Sounds like
Yes.
a really good movie. All right. Should we rate this thing?
Yeah.
Yes. So we have a 3-tiered rating system here. The top tier of something you must watch is people must also watch, hence must. The second tier is it's an okay film to pass the time. People could also watch. In the third tier, avoid this movie at all costs. People don't also watch.
I'll go first. I'm going to give this people could also watch. It is not a great
Really?
movie. It is not a great movie. It is not.
The look on Tara's face
Just
of
aghast.
disgust
I'm
Just
stunned.
aghast.
and yeah.
People could also watch it. There are moments in this movie that are fun. You know exactly what this movie is going to be when it starts. It is low budget. It's kind of fun to see Peter Dinklage before Game of Thrones doing some, medieval style sword play and things like that. As long as you know exactly what it is when you go into it, I don't mind it. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I was just disappointed in it. So people could also watch.
Wow. That's
Right
like
now,
a disappointed
Tara's-
parent.
Tara's face looks like she's the center in a human centipede.
Yikes.
Fair enough.
That
I
much
mean, I'll go next.
revulsion.
I'll go next because Dave's called me out as eating poop, I guess. I mean, under no circumstances, people do not watch. People should never watch. Adam, it's funny. It's funny that you say you know exactly what you're getting into with this movie. That's what I thought, except that you don't, because you don't get anything, because it's like, sure, it starts out strong. It starts out like, okay, I could enjoy this, and it falls off so quickly that to me, I was really bored by certain points, and I just didn't care. And so, yeah, I'm stunned that you think people could also watch it. It's an absolute no for me.
Wow. There's a lot of venom in her voice.
How dare you?
I know, a lot of hate.
Well,
I don't know where to rate this one, because I feel like people could also watch is too much, and people don't also watch is too much the other way. Here, I'm gonna roll a die.
oh,
Odd, it's going to be could also watch. Even, don't also watch. 2, don't also watch. I'm gonna go don't also watch. It was a little bit of a mess of a movie. I didn't find any of the characters particularly charming. I did find instances kind of fun. The guy who plays the dungeon master, who always kind of plays a creep in shows, he was really funny. But I gotta say, people don't also watch.
Well,
Wah, wah.
all right. So if they're not also going to watch this, what should they watch? What are the interesting things you guys have been watching or reading or listening to? What you got?
Okay, so I'm not fully into this yet, but I'm very excited to possibly binge it, and maybe even today. A sci-fi original show called Reginald the Vampire. It stars. I meant to look up the name of the guy starring in it, but he plays Peter Parker's best friend in the most recent Spider-Man movies. It's about him becoming a vampire and still dealing with fat shaming and all the social
Really?
mores of
That's kind of funny.
living life. even though he's a vampire now and in the vampire world. It's on Hulu. I want to say it came out in 2020, could have been 2021, but I just discovered it and I'm looking forward to it because that guy's really funny. He's a great actor in a great comedy.
Nice.
I'm trying to. The only thing I can think I should have thought about this more before today. But I recently watched Triangle of Sadness, that movie Triangle of Sadness.
Oh yeah.
And
Is that good?
I didn't know a thing about it. I just knew it was one of the ones I just didn't get to watch in award season, but I was like, but I still want to watch it. Well, I just thought like the best part of the movie is like at the opening you learn what the Triangle of Sadness is, and it made me laugh so hard, which I'll just share with you very quickly. Is so basically and also this movie, it takes you on a weird journey. Like you're like, where is this going? Where is this going? And it's also, I felt like a little long, but it's compelling. But the opening of this movie is all these like male models. Okay, so it's like all these male models that are auditioning for like a photo spread, whatever. And so they, which is like just as demeaning as it is for women, but I thought it was interesting. So they open up, and this main character, he goes in, he gives them his, portfolio, and they're like, okay, pose like this, and they go, could you please like relax your triangle of sadness? And we're like, what? And they're like, oh, it's your forehead, between your forehead. It's essentially like the 11s on your forehead when you get wrinkles, and like essentially your forehead and your nose area. And I just thought that was so funny because I'd never heard that term.
Sadness?
That's your because
Yeah.
like it's because that's what you look sad when you like frown and stuff like that. And I was like, that's hilarious.
I love that. I love that.
It was pretty
I'm gonna start using that now. Okay,
Yeah, oh,
for
no.
Mine, for mine, I'm gonna go and keep it thematic. There is a game available on Steam. It's also available on Oculus called Demio, and it is a Dungeons and Dragons game. But it's super cool because what it is it's the board is laid out in front of you. You move the pieces. The pieces actually move. You actually shoot arrows. The bad guys shoot their magic back at you. It's very interactive. It's a lot of fun. You can play it with people online. So they're actually sitting at the table with you. You can see their avatars. You can converse with them and strategize in real time. It's a really fun game. It's a cool game. I think it's like $40 on Oculus or Steam, and I've been playing it now for like 2 years, and it has yet to lose its charm and its uniqueness. So Demio, Demeo.
And I equate it as it's kind of like the chess game on the Millennium Falcon, where it's these animated 3D pieces that you move around.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it.
And good. Oh, I like Demio. That is a fun game.
Fun game. See that, Tara? Us nerds have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm
Why
going to
don't
go
you-
recite a
why don't
sonnet,
you-
so.
Well, thanks for listening to People Also Watched. Tell us what movies you would like us to also watch. Hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at People Also Watch. No ED. It's hard for me to make ED jokes because the pain is real.
Ooh, critical fail. Not one.
Yeah. I rolled a 1.
Rolled a 1.
I
on
clearly
penis
rolled
strength.
something. Yeah.